Tefillah l'Moshe ish olim, Adonai monata yisalanu b'dor v'dor. Toshev enosh adaka, v'atomer shuvu v'nei adam. Zramtam sheina yiyu, b'boker kechatzer yachalo. Ki chalinu v'apecho, v'chamascha nifalnu. Ki chal yamenu panu v'evrasecha, ki linu shanenu k'mo hega. Mi yodeh uzapecho, chirascha evrasecha. Shuva Adonai ad Masai v'nachem al avodecha. Samachenu kimos inisanu shenosreinu ra'a. V'hinam Adonai Eloheinu Aleinu U'maseh Yadenu Konan Aleinu U'maseh Yadenu Konaneu. Cash announce it? Okay, fine. Omar l'Adonai Ma'asi Musudasi Elohai Yaftach Bo. Bevraso Yasach Lach V'sachas K'nafav Techaset Tzino V'socheira Amito. Midever Bofal Yaloch Miketev Yashut Tzarayim. Rak Be'enecha Sabit V'shilu Ma'asur She'im Tireh. Lo Su'una Elecha Ra'a V'nega Lo Yikrav Ba'alecha. Al kapayim yisu'uncha pentigov bo even raglecha. Kivicha shak v'afaleteu as hagveyu ki yada shemi. Ha'orech mimaspeyu v'ayreyu b'shuasi. Tov lodos l'Adonai u'lezamer l'shimcha alyon. Alei yasor v'alei navel alei higayon b'chinor. Magadlu Masecha Adonai Modamku Machshavosecha. Bifroach Rishem Kumoise Vaitisu Kopol Leoven Lisham Da Madeyad. Kine Oyevecha Adonai Kine Oyevecha Yovedu Yispardu Kopol Leoven. Vatabeit Eini Vishurai Bakamim Alai Mirayim Tishmana Aznai. Shisulim beveis Adonai b'chatzos Eloheinu yafrichu. Le'agi ki ashar Adonai tzuri v'lo avla sabo. Nachon ki sacha mi'oz me'olamata. Mikolos ma'im rabim adir mishperyam adir b'marom Adonai. El nekamos Adonai el nekamos Ophiyah. Ad Masai Rishayim Adonai Ad Masai Rishayim Yalozu. Amecha Adonai Yidaku V'nachalascha Yanu. Vayomru Lo Yirayah V'lo Yavin Eloi Yaakov. Manota Uzana Lo Yishma Im Yotzer Ayin Alo Yabit. Adonai Yodea Machshavos Adam Ki Heima Havel. Lashkit lo mimeira adi karel la rosh hashachas. Ki ad tzedek yoshuv mishpa v'acharav kol yishrei lev. Ulei Adonai Ezra Sali ki mat shachna duma nafshi. Berov sarapai b'kirbi tanchumecha yishashu nafshi. Yogodu al nefer tzadik v'dam naki yarshiyu. Vayashev aleihem esonam urosam yasmiseim Adonai Eloheinu.
אשת חיים מאמצע ורחוק מפנים בכלל בטבע לבעלה ושלה לא יחסר גמלתו טוב לרע כל ימי חייה עדש עד צמר ופשתים ותעש בחפץ כפי הייתה קוניות צרכי ממחר תביא לחמה ותקום בהוד לילה ותיתן טרף לביתה וכל כל נערתיה זמם השדה ותיקחהו מפרי כפי ענת הכרם הגלה בעוז בטניה ותאמץ זרועותיה טעמה כי טוב שכלה לא יכבה בלילה נראה ידיה שלך בקישור וכפיה תמכו פלך כפה פסליאני בידיה שלך לאביון לא תראה לביתה משלה כי חוק ביתה לבשנים על בדים אסתלה 6 וארגמן לבושה נודע בשערים בעלה בשבטו עם זקנה ארץ סעדין עשתה ותמכור וחגור נתנה לכנעני עוז וידע לבושה ותצחק ליום האחרון פיה פתחה בחוכמה ותורת חסד הלשונה צופייה ליכוד ביתה ולכם עצלות לא תאכל קמו בניה וישורها בעלה ויהללה רבות בנות עשו חיל ועטל יתת כולנה שקר החן והבל היופי אישה יראת אדוני תתהלל תנו לה מפרי ויהללה בשערים מעשיה. And Yeshua, Leah, and Shimon, and Ida, we're here to mourn the passing of a dear mother, the passing of an Eshes Chayil, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. The few verses that I just read actually describe the characteristic trait of Eshes Chayil with regards to her caring, her compassion, her loving, her understanding. And that is the life of Cyrla bas Mordechai alei shalom. As I met with you, you described your mom as the typical Eshes Chayil. This is exactly what it says, what an Eshes Chayil is. You have mentioned that she had a joy of life. She was happy to be alive. And because of that, she used that trait in order to help others, to teach others. She was a devoted mother. She was a wonderful wife. She was a great and understanding and compassionate grandmother. And she was an adoring great-grandmother. She always cared for others. She always prepared for others. She always did for others, not for herself. She was the last one on the list, specifically to show her love, her kind heart, her lev tov, that she portrayed to let others enjoy that simcha that she had in her heart. Apparently, all of her daughters and grandchildren learned from her. She understood that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave her this chance to build her world together with her dear husband, Alav Shalom, and build the next generations. Our sages, the Chachamim, say that Hashem decides which neshama goes to whom, which baby. When the child is conceived, the neshama comes down and attaches itself to that baby. But not before having a du-siach, a conversation with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The neshama doesn't want to come down. The neshama is in the Gan Eden. The neshama is together with Hashem. And the neshama says to Hashem, Ribbona shel olam, Mali b'tzaros, why do I need the tzaros down there? Take a look. The wars, the hatred, the killing, the murders. I want to stay with you. Nevertheless, Hashem says, Gzerah milefanai, it is a decree that you have to go to that baby. Obviously, the neshama has a choice. And it does. It has a mission. And it goes to that baby. The baby is born. The baby starts to crawl, learns how to walk. Finally runs, gets older, gets married, and has children. At the end, the person starts to get old and older and older. And then the person is pushed closer, closer to the grave. Depending on the person's morals and ethics. Cyrla Bas Mordechai had a very strong code of morals and ethics. She was honest, sincere, almost to a fault. Chas v'shalom, that she would owe anything, even a penny, to another person, to her own daughters. When they went out to go shopping for her, she wanted to see the cheshbon. How much do I owe you? To her own children. She didn't want to owe anything. She owes her life, and she gave it over to her children. She gave over her compassion and her heart, her understanding and her teachings over to her children. She understood why that her neshama had to come down. Her neshama had a mission, had a purpose in life, to bring you about. So you would have children, so you will build the next generation, and the next one, and the next one. And B'lei Ayin Hara, when we look at her children, they're all very nice, sincere, compassionate, understanding, believe very strongly in Hashem, and raise their children just the way their mother wanted. Cyrla was a working person. She was a professional. She was a teacher. She was a translator. She was a bookkeeper. She worked for Lincoln Federal Financial. And yet, she always had the time for her family, for her friends. She never wanted to insult anybody, even by the words she said. And this is a tremendous lesson to all of us, to be careful in what we say. That's what she taught us. Hashem has given us a certain number of days, weeks, months, and years in our life. And not an extra second. That neshama wants to go back to Hashem. And when it's time, the neshama says to Hashem, please, another minute. I want to stay with this lady, with this Eshes Chayil, another minute. I love her. And Hashem says, no. Again, it is time for you to go back up. Because the person has accomplished her mission. She was here to do a work, and she did it, and she goes back to Hashem. We are the ones who are at loss for losing such a wonderful, wonderful Eshes Chayil. Her children, I'm sure, have many, many lessons they have learned from her mom. Unfortunately, not long ago, you lost your dad. Losing a father is horrible. Very, very sad experience. But losing a mother is devastating. A mother is the one who stayed up with you nights when you were sick. The mother is the one who smiled with you, who laughed with you, who cried with you. The mommy was the one who took care of you from before birth. And now, she's no longer. There'll be a time when you would ask yourself, what would mommy say? I have a problem in front of me. How do I solve it? What would mommy say? And the answer would come to you. And that is the blessing that she left you. That is the wealth that she left you. The power of thinking, the ability to solve problems, and then to have the continuity and teach everything to your children, that which she taught you. It is a sad moment, unfortunately. I remember her when she used to come to shul together with her husband, together with Ida. Even when, after, unfortunately, she couldn't see any longer, but she had to schlep to shul to say Yizker. This is another example. To do something for somebody else. To say the Yizker for her parents. She didn't think of herself. She never found excuses. She's too sick to stay home, and she can't see, so why go to shul? No, she went to shul purposely. She was that fighter. She was that strong. And that's why I mentioned before she had a tremendous code of morals and ethics. She wanted to be straight with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And finally, she went back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It is a tefillah that she should be Me'ez Yosher and stand before Hashem for her dear children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, for all of us, all of her friends, her community, and to pray for us, to be mispal for us, to bring shalom. This is one of the things she fought for, to bring shalom among the siblings, to bring shalom among friends, among family members, always with a smile. That's how I remember her. Very soft-spoken, and always with a smile. Always ready to give. She gave tzedakah to everybody. Every time she received something in the mail from a charitable organization, she sent a check. Whether she knew them or she didn't, it doesn't make any difference. It's a Jewish organization, and even a non-Jewish organization. She gave. That is tzedakah. Hashem gave her. She wants to share it with other people. May she daven for shalom, shalom ben amim, between all the nations. Sometimes when you start thinking of what's going on around the world, you have to raise your hands to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and say, Ribbona Shalom, help me. Look what's going on. And to pray for Shalom in Eretz Yisrael. And Shalom between us, between Jews, between family members. And that, Be'ez Hashem, should be Zocher V'Yas HaMashiach. U'macha Hashem Elokim Dima Me'al Kol Panim. Tihye Nafsha Tzrura B'Tzor HaChaim. Amen.
Rabbi Blum.
We're reading the parshas of the establishment of Klal Yisrael through Yetzias Mitzrayim. There's a tremendous, great lesson that Klal Yisrael as a whole has taught us in Yetzias Mitzrayim. It's a characteristic of the Jewish nation, of Klal Yisrael. It's a legacy that the whole Klal Yisrael has continued and practiced to this day and to Bias HaGoyel. said in Parshas Boy, Parshas Bishaloch, that 1/5 of Klal Yisrael, Hamushim, the Tarim Yoines and Ben Uziel tells us that every family had 5 children. What does that mean? Forshim Plogzer, what do you mean 5 children? They had more. Shisha Bekeres Echot. What, every family had the exact, equal, identical amount of children? 600,000 Jews? So the Ber Yosef explains us something totally different. Chazal tell us in the Makes Choshech, we're going to read now, Parshas Boy, 80% of the Yidden died. 80%. 4 families out of 5 were nifter. Because they were not maminim, they didn't believe, they didn't want to go out. Whatever the reason is, it was an einish. But the adults were choite. What happened to their children? There were many children. And there were very many children. Each family had shisha bekeres echad. What happened to those 80% of children when the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim and they wandered 40 years in the desert? So the Ber Yosef says, each family took 4 other families. And if 20% takes 4 other families, it sums up to all the families. So you can imagine? They're going for a long journey. They don't know what they have. Be'eretz lo yizerua. They don't know how they will be fed. They have to take care of their own family in the long wandering desert. And in spite of it, each one took upon themselves the responsibility to care and to raise for 4 other families. Each and every one. That means not each one had 5 children. Each family took with them 5 families. That's how the Ber Yosef learns. What do we see from this? In the beginning of the establishment of Klal Yisrael, all the Yidden together showed the tremendous unselfishness, not being worried about how difficult, how hard, how complicated, how costly it will be for them. But they cared, they worried, they were responsible for other people. This is what the Nifteres was. A totally unselfish person. And cared for everybody else. Worried for everybody else. This was practiced by every Godel, but by Moshe Rabbeinu, we see, we're not going to elaborate too long, but the main thought that this is what the Nifteres was. She gave away her life for other people. She was concerned with everybody's problems, everybody's troubles. Person passes away. Look into who is the Ben Olam Habo. The Gemara in Taina says, Mar Ukve was beluft, and he met Eliyahu there. He asked him, who is here someone who is worthy to be in Ben Olam Habo? At the end of the Sugi comes out, and he tells them, these 2 people who are here, these 2 people are worthy to be zoiche to Olam Habo. So Ma'ukwe went, he asked him, Maya of the Chayo, what is your occupation? Omale inshe bediche anon mebatchinon atzive. If people are depressed, are in a bad mood, are in a problem, we cheer them up. We make them feel good. We comfort them. If we find 2 people who are fighting, not necessarily physically, we bother and we try to make peace among them. These are the people who are bnei olam habo. This was the occupation of the Nifteres. Whenever she saw, Oyeve Shalom, Eroidefe Shalom, the Midah waren HaKoyen. She's a Bas Olam Habo. She has a condition to be Zoichet to Olam Habo. Because that's what she always worried, always cared. Try to comfort people, make them feel good, make them happy. Make peace among people who are quarreling and are in a fighting situation. The other gewaltige Sache that we find by her, oh, it's Shabbos. Yoko says, among the Makkes, that Tzfardeya was the one that all the Tzfardeya, by the other Makkes, after the Makkah, the behemoths left, the enemies left the country, left Mitzrayim. They didn't die. By Tzfardeya, they all died. He says, why? He says, because it says that those Tzfardeim who went into the ovens, they remained alive. All the other Tzfardeim died. The one who went to the ovens remained alive. Why did they remain alive? Because they were Moise Nefesh for the Ribono Shel Olam. The Ribono Shel Olam had exerted that the Makkos had to go into the Tanurim, and they sacrificed their life. Those who sacrifice their life for the Ribono Shel Olam get a tremendous schar, and they survive. So Dafke, the other ones died to show this lesson. Imadach by Tzfardeim, so Kal V'chomer ben Benoishe Kal V'chomer, if a Yid, a human being, is Moise Nefesh for the Ribono Shel Olam, for sure they get tremendous great schar. The Nifteres, Oleh Shalom, and her husband, Oleh Shalom. They were in Cuba. They lived comfortably. They could have remained in Cuba. But they wanted to give their children some Yiddishkeit, which they did their utmost in Cuba, what they were able to. But they came to these shores, they left everything behind. Their job, their wealth, even the ring that she had in the airport in Cuba, they took it away because it belonged to the government. She left everything behind. She was totally Moiser Nefesh for the chinuch of the children. It says by Chipozen, by Yetzias Mitzrayim, Zot Reb Tzodek, whenever a machshove toiva, a dover of kedusha comes into your mind, you have to act immediately, because you don't know what happens later. We learned this from Mitzrayim, that Yidden had to leave right away, because if not, they will be meshuke nun sharet tumah. But the Tzodok said everything, every dover toiv has to be done immediately. When they came to the United States, to Cleveland, the first thing they did is enroll the children in the Hebrew Academy. Enroll the children in a Mokim Torah to give them chinuch. By this Mesiras Nefesh, they were Baruch Hashem Zoiche to have children who go in the right derech. And just like she practiced a great unselfish life, so their children are following in the same derech. We see by their children, all their children, and grandchildren, how giving they are, how caring for others they are, how unselfish they are. And therefore she was zoiche for this Mesiras Nefesh, as I mentioned before, the tremendous schar that you get, that she has children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, who go b'derech ha-Torah, derech ha-Yireh, Talmidei Chachomim, Mashpim, who too gewaldig in America and in Arzeinu Akdoisha. Should be a Melitz Yosher for your whole mishpoche. Being a Bas Olam Habo, as we just mentioned the Gemara, you can be a tremendous Melitz Yosher for your children, sons-in-law, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Vila Moves Lo Netzach, Mocha Hashem Elokim Dimo, Me'al Kol Ponim.
Rav Simcha Dessler.
Rabbi Ben Susan, Rabbi Bloom, family and friends. In Parshas Bo, Moshe Rabbeinu insisted that the exodus from Egypt shall be b'noreinu v'zkenenu, with our youngsters and our elders, our sons and our daughters. And despite a proposition from Paro that only the elders depart Egypt, Moshe Rabbeinu insisted that for the service of the Almighty, each member of the family is equally vital. His deliberate focus on children served as a founding principle for all time. In 1967, Mr. and Mrs. Ejbszyc arrived from Cuba to Cleveland with absolutely nothing but faith in Hashem, joy and positivity in their hearts, and smiles on their faces. But they too focused on their children. As was mentioned, they made an outstanding investment when they enrolled their children in a Jewish day school, the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland. That wise decision on that fateful day in my father's office represented the seeds of Jewish continuity. Today, their daughter, Moralea Weiner, is an outstanding teacher in the school. Their granddaughter, Mora Chavasasha Blech, is a second-generation teacher in the school, and their great-grandchildren are third-generation students in the school. They merited Banim Ubnei Banim Oskim B'Torah V'Mitzvahs. Incredible. I stood before you on Erev Rosh Hashanah, and in the presence of family and friends, we bid goodbye to Mr. Ejbszyc. And I expressed that we would miss his smile. Today, we have gathered once again to say goodbye to Mrs. Ejbszyc, devoted wife of 65 years, loving mother, loving grandmother, loving great-grandmother. And again I say, Mrs. Ejbszyc, we will miss your smile. We will miss your positivity. And we will miss your compliments. You were a ray of sunshine in our midst, making this world a brighter place to be. To Anne, Leah, and Ida, and your families, it is a profound loss, and it's the end of an era. But it should give you comfort to know that the community has witnessed your incredible kibbud av v'aim and have learned from it. Mrs. Ejbszyc, as you approach the Kisei HaKavod with the schusim of a Yiddish mama, a matriarch of a beautiful family, and generations committed to Yiddishkeit, may you be a Melitz Yosher for your wonderful family, for our Cleveland's Jewish community, and for Klal Yisrael. Bila Amovas Lanetzach, Umocha Hashem Dima Me'al Kol Panim.
And Sportes.
I never thought I would be standing here again so soon. It doesn't matter how old we are. It doesn't matter that I'm a grandmother several times over. It is unimaginable to me that now I have no parents. The two people in the world that gave me unconditional love, felt every pain of mine, and were exhilarated for every one of my happy moments are now gone. Even at my age, my mother would be the first phone call every morning at 7 o'clock. Drive safely to work. If it's icy, be careful. Call me when you get to work. And sometimes I'd be a little embarrassed. Mom, I'm at work. Only now do I realize what a zchut, what a privilege to have someone care for you in that way. She was a 7 o'clock call for every birthday, for every anniversary, for every simcha. My mother was such an extraordinary person, a true Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. She began to work as a teenager to help support her parents when my grandfather became very ill and disabled. Since then, she never stopped. She was a secretary, she was a translator, she worked for bookkeeping, for import-export, and in the days when working downtown meant taking 3 buses in the deep snow. She possessed an unusual sense of honesty. She would return a penny if she thought she was given the wrong change, and would never owe a penny to everyone. As someone mentioned, the rabbi mentioned, if we would buy her a loaf of bread, sometimes we were embarrassed, how much was it, how much was it? And I would just make up a random, oh, Mom, it's $1, just give me $1. Oh, I know it's not $1. Okay, Mom, it's $1.50. I know at Unger's it's $3.22, and she'd take out her little purse and make sure that every penny was paid. My mother loved hosting people in her home. There were always guests in their home, Shabbatot and holidays, and she especially loved Sukkot and Pesach. My parents' home was very humble, but it became a castle and a palace of Achnasat Orchim because of my mother. My mother's love of life, her courage, and resilience were remarkable. My mother suffered many life-threatening injuries in her early 40s after a horrible hit-and-run accident. The doctors told us the night she was rushed to the hospital, she would not survive, let alone be able to move again. With God's help and with her fierce determination, she learned to walk again and continued working full-time till very late in life. Though my mother became legally blind about 15 years ago, it didn't stop her from hosting guests, and she actually insisted on preparing most of the meal herself with my father's help. She battled many diseases with strength and perseverance, always with smile, always with hope. Family was everything to Mom. She called every one of her daughters, her children, her grandchildren, and then her older great-grandchildren daily. She took a genuine interest in our lives, taking pride in every one of our accomplishments, always lending an ear. And at times, if we had something we struggled with, she'd stop and think and give us her advice. But always at the end, in her unique Yiddish, Spanish accent, she'd say, "Don't worry, it's just a suggestion." My mother loved learning. Even in her golden years, she instilled in us that one is never too old to grow or to learn. In her 80s, she called me and said, "Can you help me find a computer course?" I said, "Mom, it's really hard for you." No. I have to be up on the latest. Everyone really needs to take a computer course. What if I want to apply for a job? That was her thing, that she never gave up on applying for a job. My husband, Yeshua, who loves to cook, she would say to him, "Yeshua, what about if you and I get together and get a catering company? And you and I will cook and bake, and we'll sell the food to everybody." And this is in her 80s. In her 80s, she applied and got a job at Workman's Circle doing what she loved, teaching Yiddish, and she was blind. So she took her special machine to be able to do this, and it was her greatest joy. And she always used to say, I have to work. I even helped her maybe about a year ago doing some freelance translations in Spanish so that I could help her see. And we put together the instruction manuals for several appliance companies. Some people have alluded that we were very devoted to my parents, to their care in their later years. We have my mother to thank for providing a lifelong example of what true kibbud avim means. Our efforts paled in comparison to her devotion, mesirut, and self-sacrifice in the care of our grandmother. We were honored to attempt to mirror, even in the most modest way, the love and care my mother showed her parents. We received the love of learning and Judaism and tradition from my mother. She instilled the passion in our hearts and always reminded us of the importance of a Jewish education. Mom loved music and the Yiddish language. During her last week, when she was virtually unresponsive, we gathered around the hospital bed and played her favorite Yiddish songs for her. We're convinced, and I'm convinced in my heart, that we saw reactions and we saw pleasure. We cannot imagine life without my mother. She'll be sorely missed by her daughters, sons-in-law, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and her dear brother, Yosele, who was able to be here with her the night before she passed. He came from Brooklyn. He himself is older and very frail. And she will be missed by her friends and the community. Our lives will never be the same, but we thank the Almighty for the many years we had with you, Mom, and the beautiful memories we have of you. My parents were inseparable, always seen around the community together. In March, they would have been married 66 years. As in so many other cases one hears of, one soul, one half of a soul, was seeking the other half. Mommy, may you rest in peace in Gan Eden with Daddy.
Shimon Weiner.
First off, I'd like to thank everybody who came in the middle of the day, people who are working, people are busy, took off time. I have a lot of different pieces of paper here, some that people gave me, that asked me to read. I thought I had clear thoughts of what I was going to say, but one thing I want to mention is my appreciation to my Rav, who once there was issues regarding feeding tubes, quality of life, extenuation of life, he was available and involved. And it was as if it was an issue of one of his own personal family members. Lately, in communities, we have an Inyan of a minyan, but we don't necessarily have an Inyan of a Rav and a Kehillah. I'm zeicher to have a Rav who has been there for us in our life, was very much involved with my mother-in-law, with her issues, and I want to express my appreciation, my Akar Satov. First off, I'd like to read something that was sent to me, granddaughter, Dina from Israel, who is the daughter of Ida. She printed out something and had it sent. She lives in Ramat Beit Shemesh. It's an amazing thing to imagine, besides the amazing, incredible grandchildren and great-grandchildren that my in-laws have here, they have 7 great-grandchildren living in Ramat Beit Shemesh. So this is from Dina, Ida's daughter. I am trying to think what to write. I am drawing a blank. What can I write for someone to read at my grandmother's levaya as she is escorted from this world to the next? Grandma, my first memory of you is at a Hanukkah party in your living room. Back then it was only me and Orly. Orly is the daughter of Anne. Grandpa decorated the walls, but you decorated our souls. Your ponchas, that's kind of like a family inside thing, and honey came to mind. It was an annual tradition. You made those just like your mother used to make, and you find them and you filled them with love. You brought with you a core Judaism that you infused in all of us. Through your Yiddish songs, though they made us laugh, we saw the essence of who you were. A proud and happy Jew. What more could a person try to achieve in this world? You sacrificed and accommodated to make everyone happy and everyone feel at home. 2022 Revere Road was collectively our house. We were always welcome and we were always accepted. You lived your life with an attitude, whatever comes your way, it's okay. You'll find a way to make it work. When you lost your vision, you accepted it as a challenge you were going to take and win. You didn't say, oh, well, I guess I'm disabled. You went from place to place and got every available gadget to help you continue to be independent. You always did for others and never expected anything in return. You had aches and pains, your feet, your back. You took a Tylenol and continued on. You and Grandpa took so much pride in all of us grandchildren. Every picture we drew was displayed as a work of art. You came to every event. You got dressed up and sat in audiences, beaming with happiness. Grandpa is probably shocked to greet you in Shemaim. He's probably saying, it's too soon. And so are we. To us, it feels too soon. This week's Parsha is Parsha's Bo. The word Bo, which means come, is comprised of two letters. A Beis, with a numerical value of 2, and an Aleph, with a numerical value of 1. That's what Bo is. Two joining together and becoming one, in unity. Come together for a common purpose. We all know that a man and a wife join their neshamos, souls together in marriage. Sometimes the physical body can make it difficult for souls to connect properly. I can't help but think that you and Grandpa are coming together as one in this week's Parsha. Your two souls are joining as one in peace and harmony. Grandma, I will miss you terribly. I'll miss the recipes of sofrito and black beans and pea soup. I miss your chats about going dancing. I'll miss talking with you about politics, the weather. Please be a Melech Yosher for our family in Klal Yisrael. And send our love to Grandpa also. I hope they have spumoni ice cream up there. Love, Dina. And now my son from Eretz Yisrael, Moshe, who lives also in Beit Shemesh, would like to share a few words and thoughts with us. Okay, Moshe.
I first want to start off to say my Akarza Tov to my mother for teaching us and passing on all of the knowledge and all of the greatness that her mother, Grandma, taught her. Starting with Kibud Avim, which me and my mother spoke about a few minutes ago, when I was deciding whether or not to come in or not. I wanted to do the best I could for my mother, for Kibud Avim, and my mother, although she was under so much stress and going through all the pain of any parent would be while being a shmir over their mother. All she could tell me was stories about how much Grandma gave up and how much Grandma had the most kibud avim for her parents while they were in Cleveland. Another thing that we were talking about is the sacrifices that my grandmother gave for everyone. And earlier today when I was at work, I was telling everyone at work that my grandmother had passed away. And they were asking about her and who she was and where did she come from. And I explained to them my grandmother and my grandfather came from Cuba. And they sacrificed everything they had, not only to get out of the communist country, but to raise a Jewish, Yiddish family. And although it was hard, as kids, I remember as growing up that my grandparents and my grandmother always had a Yiddish holiday. And no matter what, the house was filled with love, with warmth, and with beauty. And one of the memories that I want to speak about is when I was around 14 years old, I was having questions and doubts and stuff in Yiddishkeit and Judaism, and I remember sitting on the steps in front of their house, and my grandmother sitting next to me, and out of nowhere she asked me, Moshe, why don't you go to yeshiva? And I didn't know what to respond to her, not because I didn't have an answer, but because I was so taken aback that my grandmother was asking me why I'm not learning in yeshiva, and why I'm not being summoned in Oved Hashem. And since then, until I went to yeshiva in Israel, and until I became a father and a husband and everything, it is always in my mind that my grandmother always asked that question, coming from her. Another thing that I want to talk about with my grandmother is her selflessness, how much she didn't care about physical stuff and money stuff and fame and stuff, and just like Dina was saying in her letter that every bar mitzvah or wedding or simcha or anything, grandma got dressed up like a queen to come and to be part of the simcha. And no matter what was going on, if it was raining or snowing, or if she didn't feel good, she was always there with a smile, and she was watching everyone. One thing that I noticed about grandma while growing up is that she watched people, and she talked little and she did a lot. She wasn't a person that would sit and schmooze and talk and be part of what's going on. She was watching everyone, and she had intuition. And as a child, I didn't take advantage of that, and I didn't know that I could really go to my grandmother and speak to her. But now I realize how great she was, that she had intuition and that she was really watching everything that was going on and taking it in, and how much she actually knew what was going on. There's another Indian about a person's nefesh and the point of everything of being in this world. There's one thing that I can say about both my grandparents is that they had no connection and they had no anchor in this world. They didn't want to be in this world, and they didn't want to have any investors in this world. There are so many people that their whole life is being in this world, and how much more they could put their footstep in this world. For both my grandparents, all I could see in them and all I could learn from them is how much they really internally realized how little this physical world is. And they were happy with everything, anything. My grandfather was the happiest with a little trinket, little toy. And my grandmother, if she could sit down and watch her grandchild play, that was the biggest simcha she could ever have. I think that's something that we can all learn from. I didn't have a chance to ask my grandfather for mechila before he was nifter, but now I think that before the kfura, I have a chance now before my grandmother to ask her for mechila. So I want to ask you, Grandma, do you want to hold me for anything that I've ever done to you, for not respecting you, for not trusting you? And I want to ask my mother also for mechila in front of everyone, for not also from the stuff that she taught me from her mother to have kibbud avim, for not having enough kibbud avim, and for not respecting her enough, and how much we could learn from our grandparents, specifically our grandparents, how much they taught us that we don't even realize. Thank you.
My sister-in-law Ida, the sister of my wife and Ann, asked me to say a few words on her behalf. Ida wanted everybody to know that her mother, Cyrla Bas Mordechai, was always there for her, never was tired, never said, okay, it's enough, I did enough for you. There was never a limit of how much she could do. She always was there to make her feel good, make her feel validated, and make her feel valuable as a human being. She always was concerned and worried and asked about her great-grandchildren, about her granddaughter Dina, and about the great-grandchildren, the 4 boys living now in Eretz Yisrael. So I'm really not able to express the words and with emotion that Ida did. And this is a huge loss for her. And I hope that Grandma will go before the Kisei HaKavod and speak to Rebbeinu Shalom and get you simcha and nachas and good health in your life. And you yourself can speak to Grandma. She's still here with everybody. I know the hour is late, but I'd like to share a few quick thoughts. I just want to say, bring down the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, Ezeo chacham halomid mikol adam. Who's a wise person? A person that learns from everybody. So I don't really consider myself exceptionally wise, but I do know that I learned a lot. I learned a lot from my mother-in-law. One of the things that she used to do, which it took me a couple years to understand, is every time they ate over, she would go through the whole menu and how it was made. She would sit there and say, so this soup, how did you make it? What kind of vegetables did you put in? What kind of seasonings? This coleslaw, this. And then I realized I caught on to her. I knew what she was doing. That was her way of complimenting a person. If you see to a person that they made a masterpiece, you say, how'd you make that masterpiece? How did you carve it? How did you come about it? And that was what she would always do at our table, taught me how to compliment a person in a way that really sticks and really matters. She always made other people feel good and complimented them. She was always, you look so sharp. Are you going out dancing tonight? You know, you look amazing. You know, you're famous. They're going to come and do movies of you. She was always very, very complimentary. And that's something that I could learn and that I will try to instill in my persona. She never complained about anything. She was blind. I never heard her complain about being blind. Sometimes she would say, you know, I don't really see so well. Can you help me? Can you tell me where my cane is? But she never complained about being blind or really just being visually impaired. A person can lose their sight but still be very insightful. And she was very, very insightful. I learned that from her also. I learned from her children, the three daughters who were exemplary in the way that they treated their parents, how to honor a parent, what it really means for Kibud Av V'Em. We speak about it a lot, honor your parents, but what does it mean? Bottom line is the children could not do enough for their parents. When I first came into the family, my in-laws called every 15 minutes, and to me that was a little bit odd, so I thought, okay, I'm in an odd situation. But then I realized that was what caring is. They want to just share things with you and tell you things, and how are you, and I haven't heard from you. And in case you're worried that you haven't heard from me, I am still alive. I was not captured by aliens. I am still here. So they were always, always connected. And that really was something, I didn't grow up that way, but that was something that made a big impression on me and changed me. I saw the daughters, and I wasn't always able to see what Ida and Ann did because I wasn't in their house, but I know that they did a lot of things. But I know that my wife always took her out for ice cream, took her to plays, took her to social things, took her to stuff where it meant schlepping the wheelchair and being uncomfortable. She could have stayed home. She could have said, you know what, I'm going to say some Tehillim instead, but she was very proactive. My wife has been sleeping at the hospital straight for the last 3 weeks and then would come home and go to work. I know that the other daughters also spent a lot of time at the hospital also. And that is something that I could learn a lot from. She was very, very proud of, my mother-in-law was very, very proud of her daughters, of their children, her grandchildren, from my family, my extended family. Yitzchak is an amazing, amazing son-in-law, and his wife, Chava Sasha, they did tremendous things for them. Chana Ora and her husband, Nassan, there was nothing that was no. You'd say, Nassan, could you go to Ecuador and get grandma a favorite thing of papaya? And he'd say, that's my name, Ecuador Nassan, and then he would just go and take care of it. And Moshe's wife, Sarah, when I was just there in Eretz Yisrael, all she could think about is, what can we send back for grandma? What would be a nice gift for grandma? So I learned a lot from people about thinking about people and about really just worrying about people. Even this morning, my mechutin, Mori Blech, his wife broke both her legs. She fell. She broke both her ankles. And he has a lot going on, but he had the presence of mind to call and explain why he's not going to be at the funeral, because he felt he needed to explain it. And that shows a tremendous amount of caring and consideration and presence of mind. Her brother was very, very important to her. Her brother should live and be well for many years. Tio, as we call him, lives in Flatbush, just came in the other day. The timing was amazing. He was able to see with his sister and see her off. I would like to thank the women who were Ms. Asik and the Tahara last night. They came. It was a personal thing. They were very involved with my wife. They were able to share stories of my mother-in-law. It wasn't just a nifteris. My son will speak in a moment, and he'll go through a list of a lot of thank yous, tremendous amount of thank yous that we have. I have a tendency to throw out Hakar Satov. It's just a very nice thing. But I think when you see people that were involved and people that really were Moser Nefesh for my in-laws, then Hakar Satov, it really takes on a tremendous dimension. I would like to close with a pasuk. My wife portioned out the Tehillim for everybody, and I was given the Tehillim for Yom Chaf Beis and Chaf Gimel. We were very close and fortunate to be close with the Rosh Yeshiva, Reb Chaim Stein, Zecher Tzadik V'Kosher Bracha. And when we were going through a tekufa of a certain health issue, he told us to be mechaven to a pasuk in Tehillim that says, Yishlach devar v'yarpayim v'yimalei mishchi sosam, that Hashem will send his help and destroy take care of the destroyers. So much so that my wife used to write it on little pieces of paper and post-it note it to pillows and to IV poles and things. And that pasuk came out in my Tehillim that I was supposed to say. When I saw it, I felt as if the Rosh Yeshiva is there, things are going to be well. Sometimes when you daven for a person and they don't come better, then you daven for them that they should have a easy exit. And we were very, very fortunate. I don't think my mother-in-law had any pain. I don't think she had any discomfort. I think she had a very dignified and easy exit. And so when you asked her in Baruch Shalom to answer your tefillahs, he did answer our tefillah that she should go out in a dignified way. I would like to ask her, Mechila, I was not the easiest son-in-law. I know you got dentures because I wore out your teeth from grinding them. And I know, Baruch Hashem, I have son-in-laws who are much more easier than I was. But I'd like to ask you, Mechila, if I was not always mechabed you, if I didn't always honor you as I should, if I didn't go the extra mile as I see everybody else in the family does. And I know right now you're just like, oh, come on, that's ridiculous, don't be silly, because that's your nature. But my responsibility is to ask you for Mechila and to ask you to go and daven for everybody and to thank you for letting me be part of your life and for teaching me so much. Baruch Hashem, Dima, Kaponim, Rosman.
Yonasan Weiner.
I'm going to begin by reading something on behalf of my mother. Rebbeinu Shalom, I was brought down into this world to be raised by such a holy neshama, such a holy person, a queen, a true Eved Hashem, my beautiful mother, Cyrla Bas Mordechai El Hashem. And for that I give Haidah, for that I thank you. Mommy, I'm sitting here next to you trying to write down my thoughts, but my hands feel paralyzed. My body and mind are filled with awe and terrible pain. How can I dare convey what you have contributed in your lifetime in just a few sentences? How do I adequately praise you enough? When I started saying Vida with you, I realized how these averas don't apply to you. You are so pure. Mommy, you are always my compass. Watching you, listening to you, Just being in your presence gave me direction. With your soft and loving words, you had so much wisdom to offer. Although I had so much private time with you in the hospital, it wasn't enough. I will treasure holding your hand and singing to you. Mommy, you held my hand and led my path to Refuah Shlema with songs of chizuk when I wasn't well. You and Daddy, Olav Shalom, took upon yourselves to be careful with so many mitzvahs to accumulate zchusim. I owe every breath that I take to you and Daddy. As we know, Moshe Rabbeinu was the most humble man. He was chosen to be a leader because of his empathy to Klal Yisrael, because he was willing and able to feel their pain. You are the most humble woman. You are a leader because you lived every moment since childhood until your last breath for others. You knew nothing other than to give. No wonder you insisted in giving the great-grandchildren tzedakah boxes for the bar mitzvah. You were teaching them to be a ben Torah, to be a mensch, you must give. Always giving of yourself. You came from a home of chesed. Your loving parents, Abu Lida V'Shalom and Bubla V'Shalom, left Europe and came to Cuba, leaving their families. They had so little in Gashmias, but the examples that they showered upon you and your dear brother Yosef nourished the both of you to become Bali Chasadim. Bubla spent tireless days trying to keep the home afloat, trying to nurse Abu Lida, her husband, back to health, especially after the news of Uncle Yosef's imprisonment due to the communist government. Abu Lida used to stand by the bus steps, waiting for the poverty-stricken passengers to come by so that he could distribute food for them. Unfortunately, Abu Lida was nifter in Cuba, and you were forced to leave him behind. You toiled day and night and did the impossible to bring Bubla out of Cuba into America. You were the older sister, always looking out for your brother. You had such a close bond that you waited for him to come in from New York to say goodbye until you left this world. Mom, your kibbut avim was far and beyond what seemingly expected. It will be a lesson for us forever. I still remember how you would run after working a full day to take care of Bubla's needs in her home and later in the nursing home. On one snowy winter day, you insisted on going, and you were hit by a car. They told us in the hospital that you might not make it. But the Rebbeinu Shalom, with his abundance of rachmim, allowed us to have you another 43 years. It's surely your impeccable kibbut avim that gave you the schos of Vichas Yomim. Your whole body was ravished in pain. You took all that suffering without one complaint. That suffering brought me to be more careful of certain mitzvahs. When I perform these mitzvahs on a daily basis, it is in your schos. You gave me a higher level of life because of your suffering. How can I ever repay you? Your Mesiras Nefesh has brought us to what we are today. How can we forget how you sat with us after the Suda Friday night to discuss the Parsha, to discuss Hashkafa with such yearning? We will never forget how you decorated the house every Yom Tov and made delicacies to make Shabbos and Yom Tov so enjoyable. How we used to sing through the Siddur. What other parents would use a challah cover made 52 years ago by a second grader almost every Shabbos? You, Mommy, because we meant the world to you. Mommy, the serious nefesh you had for your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren is a legacy to us. Material things were not your treasures. Relationships were. Until recently, you kept up with your friends from Cuba and family members. You cared so much about your Cleveland friends. The girls that visited you every Shabbos like your grandchildren. They adored you. Everyone's troubles were your troubles. Everyone's joys made your day. What a lesson it was for me when you called me early one morning because you were so worried about one of my disabled friends. You took it so to heart that you researched resources to help her. Your davening was focused on your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren's needs. Mommy, even though you were so physically weak, throughout different stages of your life, you made sure you had such inner strength to care for Daddy Olav Shalom. You were always so careful to make him just the right food for his diet, to serve it at all hours of the day to better his health. Daddy always ingrained in us how lucky we were to have you. You had a special bond, cooking together, shopping together, wrapping hundreds of presents together, writing birthday cards together, and preparing Hanukkah parties months before. Mommy, you were always a fighter. You fought all of your Nisyanis and were victorious. What was your weapon? Emunah. You never complained. You always had a positive attitude by thanking Hashem for what He did for you, for what you did have. And when Nisayan came by, you questioned yourself, what can I improve on? It made such an impression on me. How can a woman who is so full of goodness have what to improve on? When you lost your eyesight, you insisted on doing things on your own, and you weren't going to give up. You didn't stop working. You continued your passion to teach Yiddish in adult classes, even if it meant schlepping your sight machine into the classroom. It didn't stop you from cooking complete Shabbos Yontiv meals. It didn't stop you from cooking for us, writing beautiful birthday cards with heartwarming messages. Because again, it was about giving and helping others. Mommy, I miss your daily morning phone calls. You sent me off to work with a cheerful message. If it was a sunny day, you would encourage me to make the best of it, as long as I wasn't working too hard. If it was a cloudy day, you taught me how to see the sun through it. I look so forward to your encouragement and your cheerful demeanor in our conversations. Although I feel like I didn't do enough for you, for what you deserved, you were always thanking me. You were always thanking everyone. People in the community always comment on how you excelled in the midah of being Makar Tov. What didn't you excel in? To you, Mommy, being a Red of Shalom was natural. Shalom Bayis in every form was your serenity. If there was a complaint about another person, you turned it around to make shalom. You would constantly tell couples and siblings complimentary messages from each other to better their relationships. Mommy, Shabbos won't be the same without you. I look so forward to our Shabbos visits, you and Daddy waiting by the door for me to come. It gave you such nachas when I brought the great-grandchildren. You couldn't wait to see us and converse with them. Even at the nursing home, when you started getting weak, your focus was on what you can give to your visitors. Little did you know that all your visitors wanted was to be in your presence. You lived every day to enjoy the next. You lived every day to enjoy the next Seder party, graduation, or play performed by your grandchildren. Every chassan you attended was like a Gan Eden for you. Seeing your family b'shalom and flourishing was your nourishment. Mommy, you hosted so many sleepovers when we were little. You opened your home to relatives, to the needy. Not only did you open your home, but you and Daddy gave up your bedroom and slept on the couch to enable guests to be comfortable. But if I slept on the couch as an adult to keep you company when you were ill, that was unacceptable in your mind. My friends would call your home a bar mitzvah hall because of our daily meals. Although you worked outside the home, you made sure we came home to 3-course meals. Every yontiv, the kids loved to look forward to having you and Daddy buy our sukkahs meals and at the Pesach Seder. You refused to be our guest without helping. How elegant and beautiful you looked every day. Mommy, you came into this world to make a Kiddush Hashem, and you did it so perfectly. You embodied the midas of Hashem with your constant patience and yearning to give of yourself. Your grandchildren commented that people would be jealous of your instant place in Gan Eden. To come into this world and leave with an impeccable Keser Shem Tov is true accomplishment. You led and you continue to lead us with the lessons you gave us. You once said, all physical belongings can be taken away from a person, but the one thing no one can take away from you is what you've learned in life, education, in school, and at home. I mean, nothing and no one can ever replace the unconditional love you had for us. It is no wonder the love we have for you is so strong. Mommy, I don't know what I did to deserve having been raised under your guidance. Please remember me for any harsh words I used, for not giving you the proper kavod, and for causing you any pain, for not having patience when I should have. Your humbleness, sweetness, wisdom, cheerfulness, and strong pursuit of shalom are the diamonds and gold you have left us. No one met you ever for a minute as a young child, teenager, or into your later years without commenting how sweet and caring you were. You had a heart of gold. I will Be'ez Hashem continue davening from the siddur you and Daddy gave me, with a heartwarming message inside. With a humble heart, we are asking that you go to the Kisa HaKavod and be a Melech Yosher for the entire family and for Klal Yisrael. I know that you and Daddy will be our continuous messengers for Besuras Taivas. Mommy, the last words you struggled to utter to me were, I'm okay. You left this world reassuring us. Thank you to the entire community for helping to prolong my mother's life with comfort and care, love, and cheer. We'd like to give a special thank you to those who continuously built a bond with my mother of the Shalom. Please invite our family if we inadvertently forgot to mention a name. And there's no particular order in these names. Rabbi Garfunkel, Rabbi Blum, Rabbi Bernstein, Rabbi Dassler, and Nissenbaum. The Kovish family, Mrs. Frank, Mrs. Feldman, Ora Kreisler, Sandy Gold, Mrs. Brenner, Dina Katch, Mrs. Shuffler, Mrs. Goodman, Mrs. Schnitzer, Mrs. Winters, Mrs. Labrie, Mrs. Schubert, Mrs. Mandel, all the girls who came to visit on Shabbos, Mrs. Hoffman, Mrs. Shapiro, Mrs. Laskin, the Berger family, Mrs. Renner, Tali Gonik, and Agnes. And to Etta Weiner, to Dr. Lautman, Dr. Kletter, Dr. Schwartz, and Parrots Katz. I'd like to add my own, just one thought of my own. Many people mentioned that my grandmother had a tremendous simchas chaim. She was always happy, she was always smiling, always upbeat. And I was able to learn from her what was the secret to her happiness. She told me once. She said that a lot of times when something goes wrong in someone's life, so the hardest thing to cope with is that feeling of it's not supposed to be this way. The person has their picture what they imagine how life should be, and the most painful thing is in your mind it's not supposed to be this way. So she told me once that a person has to realize nothing is supposed to be anything. You wake up every day, whatever that day is, that's the way it's supposed to be, and you make the best of the day. And that, I think, is the lesson of Versim Chaim, and I think if we'll take that lesson to heart also, it'll be a tremendous schos leil nishmasa.
Victor Weiner.
If anyone would meet my wife's grandmother, the one thing that would stick out about her, the one thing that anyone who even would meet her for a few minutes, the one thing that I think everybody could and everybody should learn from her is the fact that her underlying motivation with every single action that she did was always to cause the most possible happiness to everyone around her and to everyone that she would meet, and to not chas v'shalom cause any type of hardship or inconvenience to anyone in any way, shape, or form. Anyone that would knock on her door, no matter what time, no matter what the situation was, would always be greeted with a smile, a cookie, a can of caffeine-free caffeine-free Pepsi, and would always be given a good schmooze, and the schmooze would always be about how that person was doing. It wasn't that she had so much inner happiness over herself because she had such an incredible, blissful life and everything was going so well. It was despite all the hardships she had, and perhaps because of the hardships that she went through, that she wanted to give as much happiness to every single person around her. No matter who the person was, didn't matter if it was a family member, if it was the AT&T telephone line repairman, it didn't make a difference. No matter who you were, you came to her, you spoke to her, you had any type of connection with her, she would do her utmost best to make you as happy as possible. No matter how she felt inside, she would always be smiling, because putting an unhappy face on her face would be causing you unhappiness. So how could she do such a thing? No matter how difficult it was for her to try to write a birthday card or to get a birthday present, she would always make sure that she got everything at the right time and the right place to give it, to make sure that you would have it. Even though it caused her so much difficulty, it wasn't about her. Life wasn't about her. Life was about giving as much possible happiness to everyone around her as she possibly could. No matter if somehow she would need some type of small favor from you, she would feel terrible for the fact that she was inconveniencing you, and even more. And after you did the small favor for her, she would spend months telling the entire world about this great, incredible thing that you did for her. This incredible thing. I don't know. So the one time I fixed some of her plumbing. It took me about 20 minutes on the Sunday morning. And for the next 3 months, I hear from every single person what a great thing your grandmother is telling me, that you did this huge thing for her that took you hours and hours. It took me 20 minutes. It wasn't such a big thing. But that's how she was. She felt such a tremendous appreciation, and towards anyone that did anything for her. She just wanted to give positivity and happiness to every single person around her. She should be a Meilus Yosh for everyone.
Okay. Although I wasn't on the list, but since I'm the announcer, I just want to say a few words that my wife wrote up. These are her words. You can look at your watches. I know it's late, less than 5 minutes. Grandma was always so devoted to her mother, whom we called Bubale. She doted over Bubale, always making sure that she was comfortable and had everything she needed. Grandma never held a grudge and had kindness on people. Grandma grew up with minimal Jewish education. She treasured Yiddishkeit. Grandma and Grandpa built a beautiful and large sukkah each year. They would spend hours decorating it while Grandma cooked up a storm in her little kitchen. Grandma and Grandpa themselves would carry the trays of food back and forth to the sukkah, insisting on serving their family and friends. Every Pesach, Grandma would scrub and kosher her kitchen. Together, my grandparents would bring up the boxes of Pesach dishes. Grandma and Grandpa would begin preparing weeks for our annual Hanukkah party, lovingly planning a menu and purchasing the perfect gift for each family member. On Purim, Grandma and Grandpa would come over with big Mashalach Manas bags stuffed with goodies. They would delight in our costumes and join in their merriment. Grandma was the first one to call on our birthdays and anniversaries with her warm wishes and assurances that she and Grandpa would be over later that day with a card and a gift. Each birthday card was carefully selected, and then Grandma would write in line after line of compliments and brachos for the lucky birthday girl or boy. Grandma was always available to schmooze at any hour. She kept her pantry filled with snacks and treats. Even in the nursing home, she kept chocolates and cookies to serve to her visitors. Although they had very little money, Grandma and Grandpa were constantly giving gifts to their family and friends to make them feel loved. Grandma and Grandpa gave their great-grandchildren beautifully decorated tzedakah boxes to teach them to be givers and to love this mitzvah. Grandma and Grandpa shared in all our simchas, attending all of our bar and bas mitzvahs, brisim, birthday parties, chumash parties, and preschool graduations. When Mommy was diagnosed with Yad HaMachla, we all worried that the news would be too much for them to bear and that we would have to strengthen them. It was in fact just the opposite. Grandma and Grandpa became our pillars of strength, supporting Mommy and the rest of us throughout their treatments. In Parshas Vayera it says that Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron, Vayitzavim el b'nei Yisrael, and he commanded them regarding b'nei Yisrael. Rashi says, what did they command them? Tzivam aleim, he commanded them, lanhigam benachas, to lead them calmly, v'lisbolosam, and to be patient with them. That is a true leader of Klal Yisrael, and Grandma possessed these traits. She was really a true leader. We should be able to search her for the whole family, and just ask Michiel on behalf of the family for anything we've done.
First of all, I'd like to first and foremost ask Mechila for the many, many times, not if, but when I did not give my grandmother proper kavod and did not do the things that she very rarely requested with the happiest of hearts. I'm going to be repeating things that a couple of other people brought up, but that's how you can tell that it's authentic and it's genuine, and these are not, these are repeat characteristics about her that very much stood out. Very much like my grandfather, family was absolutely everything to her. So when there was family around, she was totally oblivious to anything else, any other troubles in the world, any other finances, health issues, whatever it was. As long as she was around anyone in her family, she was totally oblivious to any of those other things that she faced. I very much remember, when she lost her eyesight, she never victimized herself. She never questioned why, and she never even mentioned it to me. It was almost as if she just didn't accept it. She was always concerned about everyone else's issues, and I would say, how's your eyes? She'd say, oh, they're okay. I have some issues I have a hard time seeing. But how's this person? How's that person? She was always very concerned and always asking about even some of my friends that she had known growing up. She would constantly ask about my personal friends. And it was a genuine care. It wasn't just a conversation piece. She had a genuine care for every single person she came in contact with. Anytime you would see her, regardless of how she felt, you would always be greeted with a smile and a barrage of compliments, constantly telling me, how good how good I looked and how well I was dressed and this and that, even though whether she could see or not, she truly felt that compliment. Her life was sacrifice after sacrifice, and I asked Grandma to be Melatz Yosher on behalf of our family and the community that she cherished and Klal Yisrael as a whole.
Please rise for Kemale.
El Malay Rachamim, Sheichem, Bameroimim, Hamtseimenu Chonechayna,
al kanfei hashchina b'mahalais kedaishim utahayrim kezayar rakia mazhirim es nishmas Cyrla bas Mordechai shalcha li'olama Pavor shebnei mishpachta yitnu tzedakah baraskaras nishmasa began Eden tehei menuchasa lachem balarachamim yastireha b'seiser kanafav li'olamim v'yitzror b'tzor achayim es nishmasa Adonai-ho nachalasa v'sanuach b'shalayim al mishkava v'noimar amen.
Please be seated. The interment will take place at Mount Olive Cemetery. The family will sit Shiva immediately after the burial, after the Kavura, at 2022 River Road in Cleveland Heights, just tonight, and starting tomorrow at 3814 Bendemeer Road. And there will be only 1 minyan during the day. There will be for Mariv at 8 o'clock. And not, and the family are going to carry the Aron.